It all began in a small but lively town called Umyaba, a place where the sun rose with songs from the market women and where every face carried both stories and secrets. Ada was known by everyone as Ada the Beautiful. Her smile could light up the whole of Umyaba, and her laughter, soft and sweet, was said to make even the sottest heart remember joy. But behind that smile, Ada carried a heart that longed for something bigger than the small life she lived. She had struggled for years, moving from one small business to another, selling clothes, cooking food, even helping her aunt in a hair salon. But life in Umyaba was hard. Every day she watched her friends who had big men in the city, men that bought them cars, houses, and gold chains, while she kept hustling under the hot sun. One evening everything changed. It was a wedding, her cousin's wedding. The music was loud, the air thick with jollof rice and perfume, and Ada looked like a dream in her yellow gown. That was when she saw him, tall, well-dressed, with a gold wristwatch that shimmered under the evening sun. His name was Alhaji Musa. He smiled at her and Ada's heart skipped. That smile carried power, soft, commanding, and dangerous. He walked straight to her and said, "You look too beautiful to be standing alone." Ada laughed shyly. "I'm not alone, I'm waiting for my cousin." But Alhaji's gaze stayed fixed on her. "From today you will never wait again. I will make sure of that." That was how it started, like a fairy tale. He began to visit her, first with flowers, then with money, then a car, then an apartment. Ada's life turned overnight from struggle to luxury. Her friends looked at her with envy. They said, "Ada, you've made it." She smiled, but deep down something in her began to feel different, something quiet, something she couldn't name. At first it was little things. She noticed she couldn't sleep well. She began to wake up tired even after resting. Her laughter became less frequent. There was a strange silence around her, even in the middle of joy. But she told herself it was stress. She told herself that happiness sometimes comes with weight. But then something deeper began to happen. She stopped feeling like a woman. At first she thought it was emotional, perhaps she was losing attraction. But then month after month her menstrual flow stopped. She waited, it didn't come. She tried different teas, different local herbs, even hospital drugs, nothing worked. When she told Alhaji, he smiled gently and said, "Don't worry yourself. It happens to women sometimes. It's a good thing, you will enjoy peace." But there was no peace. Ada began to fade. Her face lost its glow. Her laughter turned hollow. And when she looked in the mirror, she could not recognize herself. Something inside her whispered that something was terribly wrong. One afternoon, Ada went to visit her old friend Chica, who was married to a pastor. She hadn't seen Chica in years, but something told her to go. When she arrived, Chica looked at her closely and said, "Ada, are you okay?" Ada tried to smile. "I'm fine, just tired." But Chica didn't believe her. "You look empty, Ada, like your light is fading." That night, Chica's husband prayed for her. After prayers, he looked up slowly and said, "Ada, there is a man in your life. A man who gave you things. A car, a house, but what he gave you he did not give freely. He took something from you." Ada froze. "Man of God, what did he take?" The man sighed deeply. "Your womanhood, your fruitfulness, your strength." Ada's hands trembled. Tears filled her eyes. "What do you mean?" The man said, "You gave him your trust. You allowed him too close. In your sleep he took something spiritual from you, something that belongs to you alone." Ada could not believe it. That night her hands shook as she dialed Alhaji's number. When he answered, his voice was calm, almost amused. "Hello, my Ada baby." She swallowed hard. "Alhaji, what did you do to me?" "What do you mean?" he asked, his tone playful. "I just came from a man of God," she said, her voice shaking. "He told me everything. That you took something from me the day you gave me that car." There was silence. A deep, cold silence. Then he laughed softly. "So you have started listening to those prophets, eh? But Ada, are you not enjoying your car? Are you not living well? Alhaji, what did you take from me?" He paused. His voice dropped low. "You should be grateful, Ada. Everything has a price." Then he dropped the call. Ada's heart broke. The world around her spun. For the first time in her life, she understood that not all gifts are blessings, some are cages made of gold. The next morning, Ada went back to the pastor. She cried like a child, "Please help me. I didn't know. I didn't know." The pastor prayed. The church prayed. They anointed her with oil and broke into long sessions of worship. For hours, Ada screamed and cried. She felt her body tremble as though something was leaving her, and then, after what felt like forever, she felt peace, real peace, for the first time in years. That same night, as she lay on her bed, she felt a strange warmth in her lower belly. Then a sharp pain. She ran to the bathroom, and there it was. Her monthly flow had returned. She fell to her knees, crying and thanking God. "Thank you, Lord. Thank you for giving me back myself." But the story didn't end there. 3 days later, Ada woke up to a loud knock on her door. It was her neighbor. Ada, come outside. Your car." She ran outside and froze. Her car was in flames. Fire blazing from the bonnet, black smoke rising high into the sky. No one knew how it started. But by the time the fire service came, it was gone. That car, the symbol of her comfort, was reduced to ashes. Her landlord called her later that week to inform her that her rent had expired and that the house now belonged to someone else. Her account began to drain mysteriously. One by one, everything Al-Haji had given her began to vanish. But strangely, Ada felt no sorrow, because for the first time in years she felt whole again. She could feel life inside her. She could laugh, she could pray, and she could dream again. Weeks later, Ada went to the market to buy some food. As she was leaving, she saw a familiar face across the road. It was Al-Haji, but he looked nothing like before. His eyes were sunken, his hands shaking. He was talking to himself like a man who had lost his mind. Ada froze in shock. She wanted to cross the road, but fear held her back. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment he smiled, but it wasn't the same smile. It was empty. Then he said softly, "You broke it, Ada, you broke what I tied." Before she could respond, a bus drove past, and when it cleared, he was gone. That night, Ada couldn't sleep. She kept turning on her bed until she drifted into a strange dream. She saw herself standing in a dark forest, holding a small clay pot. Inside the pot, something glowed faintly like blood mixed with fire. Suddenly, a voice said, "Return what was taken, or the circle will remain open." Ada woke up sweating, breathing hard. She didn't understand, but she knew the dream wasn't ordinary. When she told the pastor, he frowned deeply. "Ada, your battle is not over. That man made a covenant using your blood. You were delivered, yes, but something is still pending. If we don't close it, it might return." Ada's heart pounded. "Return? What do you mean, return?" The pastor looked away. "We must find where he buried the covenant. Until then, you are not safe." A week later, Ada's friend Chica traveled for a church crusade, leaving Ada alone in the house. That night, Ada was sitting on her bed reading her Bible when her phone rang. It was an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello." A deep voice replied. "Ada." Her heart skipped. "Who is this?" "Go to your car," the voice said calmly. She froze. "What car?" "Go outside. There's something waiting for you." He rushed outside, and there it was. The same car that had burnt to ashes, now parked in front of her gate, shining as if brand new. Her breath caught. She blinked, thinking she was dreaming. But it was real. As she stood staring, the car lights flashed twice, and she heard Al-Haji's voice, soft and ghostly from nowhere. "You took back your blood, Ada. But did you think you could take it for free?" Ada screamed and ran back inside, locking her doors. But from her window she could see the car still parked outside, engine running, waiting. 4 days the car remained there. No one saw who brought it. No one could move it. The pastor came, prayed, and told her not to go near it. But every midnight she would hear it start by itself. The horn would blow once, then stop. Sometimes she'd hear a whisper calling her name. "I'd come and drive your blessing." She covered her ears and cried, "Leave me alone." But the whisper kept coming night after night. Then one night she couldn't take it anymore. She stood up, opened her window, and shouted, "What do you want from me?" The whisper answered, "Balance." The next morning the car was gone. But on her doorstep was a small clay pot, the same one from her dream, sealed with red thread. The door swung open and Chica stood frozen. The room was quiet, too quiet for a house that once carried Ada's laughter. The clay pot lay shattered on the floor like a broken moon, and the wall carried a calm but frightening message written in red. Balance restored. But not yet complete. Ada was gone. For a long breath, Chica could not move. She listened for the kind of sound one hears when a friend is inside, the rustle of fabric, the gentle clink of a spoon, the hush of breath from the next room. Nothing came. Only the wind slipped through the window like a worried friend. Chica's first tear fell and then she ran. She called Pastor Daniel. She called 2 church mothers, Mama Ifioma and Mama Ruth. By evening, the little house gathered people who loved Ada. A circle formed around the broken pot. No one wanted to step on the shards. They felt holy and dangerous at the same time. Pastor Daniel bent low, eyes soft, voice steady. "No fear," he said. "This is not the end." This message said, "Not yet complete," which means there is still a path. If there is a path, there is a way back. Mama Ifioma nodded. "The pot broke because something hidden has been revealed," she said. "But revelation without restoration is like rain without planting. We must plant." They prayed. Not the kind of prayer that shouts just to make noise, but the kind that listens first and speaks after. As night covered Umyaba like a wrapper, Pastor Daniel asked everyone to sit. Where would Ada go, he asked, if she believed that someone still held a piece of her story? "Back to the beginning," Chica whispered. "Back to the place where things were exchanged." "The car," Mama Ruth said. "Not the car," Pastor Daniel answered softly. "The first moment, the first yes. A wedding party, a smile, a promise." They fell silent, each hearing something different, each remembering a piece of Ada's long road. "Tomorrow," Pastor Daniel said, "we search. Tonight we watch." He asked for a cloth and carefully lifted the largest shard of the pot. It was warm, as if it carried a heartbeat. He wrapped it gently and kept it on the table. Then he opened the window wide and let the wind move through the room, to carry out fear and invite courage in. When dawn came, it came with answers. A neighbor, a driver called Tund, arrived. His cap was crooked, his face worried. "I saw Ada yesterday near the riverside," he said. "She was walking with small steps, like someone counting her thoughts. She carried nothing in her hands, only a white scarf. I asked if she needed a lift. She smiled and said, 'I am going to return something that never belonged to me.'" Chica grabbed Tund's arm. "Which river?" "The old one," he said, "the one that bends like an elbow before the bridge." They left at once, Chica, Pastor Daniel, Mama Ifioma, and Tund. The morning road opened like a story without punctuation, and the car hummed as if it too was praying. The breeze smelt of water and leaf and promise. When they reached the riverside, they found footmarks on the soft earth. Not one set, 2 sets. One small and light, one heavier. The heavier steps dragged occasionally, like someone not fully eager to move. Chica's heart woke up with fear. She was not alone, she said. "Do not worry before the bridge," Pastor Daniel replied. "Let us cross first." They followed the prince along a path that rose into a tiny hill where an abandoned mortar sat beneath a tree. The mortar was old, but inside someone had placed fresh petals. A sign of offering. Beside it lay a ribbon, white, torn at the edge. Ada's ribbon. Chica picked it up and pressed it to her chest. Next to the ribbon lay a key ring. It held no car key, only a small flat iron token shaped like a crescent. Pastor Daniel's face changed. "There is a circle here," he said carefully. "Old agreements. Old doors." They stood in a silence that felt bigger than the hill. All at once, Mama Ifioma's voice broke through, soft but strong. "My children, when wise people talk about exchange, they are not talking only about money. They are talking about life. You do not bargain with your own breath. Let us go now to the old market shrine." Chica glanced at her. "But Mama, the shrine is closed." "A closed door can still cast a shadow," Mama answered. "And shadows can carry names." They returned to the car and drove to the old market square, where time kept its treasures, stalls that had seen 3 generations, roofs patched with stubborn hope, and a shrine house sealed and painted over years ago. Children played nearby without knowing the house once heard prayers, both kind and unkind. The door was locked, but the lock looked new and shy, like a lock that did not truly belong there. Pastor Daniel touched it and blinked as if listening. He stepped back. "We will not break what we are not asked to break." They went around the back. A small window set high. A strand of white thread hung from the frame and swayed in the gentle breeze. Beneath the window lay signs of a small fire, charcoal, ash, and a circle of smooth stones. Chica crouched. In the ashes she saw letters, delicate lines drawn with a twig. "Adi." "Her name," Chica whispered. "She was here." Tund called from the other side. "Sir, madam, there is a path here leading to the old fig tree." They followed him. At the fig tree, offerings had once been made and whispers once pinned to the air. Now nothing was there except a bundle wrapped in cloth and tied with red thread. Pastor Daniel did not touch it. He knelt and prayed in a low voice. If this bundle is a hold, let it be released. If it is a memory, let it be healed. If it is a debt, let it be cancelled. Then he opened it. Inside lay dried petals, a string of cowries, a page torn from a small notebook, and a single strand of hair. The notebook page had a list of names, each paired with a symbol. A ring, a bracelet, a car, a house. Some names were crossed out with a thin red line. Some were not. Next to Ada's name was a small drawing of a car and a drop. Chica felt weak and held the tree. What does it mean? Contract without paper, Mama Ifioma said. Words sealed by tokens. The car was not just a gift. It was a door. The drop is not ink. Pastor Daniel folded the page carefully. We must find Ada before the page finds her again, he said. They left the shrine hill and drove towards the river bend. On the way they passed the old bridge. The water below moved like someone speaking in a language made of light. On the other side of the bridge, a path led to a quiet place where people seldom went, a small field bordered by bamboo and whispers. Ada stood there. She was barefoot. Her hair covered her shoulders. The white scarf was tied around her wrist like a promise. She watched the river with eyes that had traveled very far. When she turned and saw them, her face broke into gentle rain. Chica, she said, and her voice trembled. I thought I would walk this last stretch alone. You will not, Chica answered, taking her hands. We are here. Pastor Daniel stood near them. Daughter, where did you go? Ada looked at the river again. To return what never belonged to me, she said quietly. I went to find the last knot. What knot? He asked. The knot that tied my joy to a gift. The knot that said I must lose myself to be carried in a car that shone brighter than my own name. She took a breath. He came to me last night, she continued. Not as a shadow. As a man emptied by his choices. He did not threaten me. He pleaded. He said the agreement was still open. He said if I would just ride the car once one last time, the door would close and I could keep everything without fear. Chica's grip tightened. Please tell me you did not. Ada shook her head. No. I remembered the day my laughter went silent. I remembered the nights I woke up and felt like a stranger in my own body. I told him I was returning the road, the car, the house, the last thread of debt. I told him I was keeping only my name. What did he say? Chica asked. He wept, Ada said softly. He said he did not know how to stop. He said he once made a promise in a dark season and had been buying peace with gifts that were not gifts. He said the circle took from him also. He said he could sleep only when someone wore his gifts. He put it all on me, then on others, and called it love. Pastor Daniel's eyes moved with deep pity. It is true. People build altars for themselves without knowing they are also building cages. Ada reached into her cloth bag and brought out something wrapped in the white scarf. She opened it. In her palm lay the crescent-shaped token they had seen earlier, along with another small iron piece shaped like a drop. I found this under the fig tree, she said. I placed this drop beside my name and I felt a weight push me toward the water. But a voice said, return it to the river as a sign that your life belongs to the Maker, not to men. So I waited. I waited for witnesses. I did not want to be alone. Pastor Daniel nodded. You are not alone anymore. They went to the water's edge. The river watched them kindly. Ada lifted the two tokens and spoke with a voice that was steady and gentle. I return what was borrowed with tears. I return what was gifted with strings. I take back my hours, my health, my peace. I forgive who needs forgiving. I release who needs release. I am not a price, I am a person. I am not a door, I am a daughter. She placed the tokens on the surface of the water. The river accepted them. The pieces did not sink quickly. They danced a little, then turned, then slipped beneath like secrets finally allowed to rest. A wind rose and surrounded them like a new beginning. The white scarf on Ada's wrist fluttered and then slid off, hanging on a bamboo stem. No one reached for it. They let it go. When they turned back, a man stood a short distance away on the path, thin, older than before, shoulders sloped by many nights. It was Musa. He did not come closer. He simply looked at the river and then at Ada. There was nothing hard in his eyes, only a tired question. Are you free now? He asked. Ada answered without anger. Yes. Then pray that I may learn how to be free, he said. I will, she replied. But freedom is not a road you buy for others. You must walk it. Musa nodded slowly. He removed a ring from his finger. He looked at it as someone might look at an old promise that had become a chain. Then he placed it on the ground and stepped back. Take it, Chica whispered, but Pastor Daniel shook his head. No. We do not carry yesterday forward when we have just given it to the river. Musa seemed to understand. He left the ring there, turned and walked away towards the bridge with small, uncertain steps, like someone learning to live with empty hands. Evening approached. The light bent gently over the water. They walked home together, not rushing, letting silence stitch them back into peace. At the edge of town, children ran past with sweets and laughter. A woman called out the price of plantain as if singing. The world felt ordinary again, and ordinary had never been so beautiful. Back at the little house, they swept the room. Chica picked up the shards of the clay pot, and this time the shards felt cool and harmless, like shells from a friendly shore. Pastor Daniel placed them in a bowl and set the bowl on the windowsill where Light could sit on it each morning. Why keep the pieces? Chica asked. To remember, he said. Not to fear. To remember that what was broken did not break us. In the days that followed, Ada slept and truly rested. She woke to birds and felt the small soft joy that needs no witness. She cooked simple meals. She learned to walk slowly again. She paid her next rent from her small savings and moved to a smaller place with a quiet yard where hibiscus flowers stood like red bells. One afternoon she visited the women at church. They hugged her as if welcoming a traveler who returned with stories and strength. Mama Ifioma took her hands and said, "Your returning will become a road for others." Ada nodded. "I am ready." They began a small circle called Daughters of Morning. They met under a mango tree behind the church, where shade gathered like a friend. They spoke about wise love and the value of a name. They spoke about gifts that lift you, not gifts that own you. They spoke of how wealth can help but dignity must lead. They spoke about speaking up when silence is not peace but consent to harm. They taught young women to ask good questions. What is the cost of this thing? What does it ask me to hide? What part of me does it dim? They welcomed men too, because healing is not a women's burden alone. Good men came and listened with soft eyes. They asked how to love truly without trading someone's fire for their comfort. They learned that care is not control. It is room to grow. One evening, Musa came quietly and stood at the edge of the circle. He waited until the meeting ended, then asked to speak. Ada looked at him and saw a different man, not because his face had changed but because his posture had. He carried no gifts, no keys, no words heavy with hidden doors. "I have started returning," he said. "The car I bought for another I sold and used the money to make wrong things right. I paid debts I had forgotten and I wrote letters where words had been stolen. I am learning to give without tying any string. I will stumble but I am walking." Ada held his gaze and saw truth struggling to stand. "That is good," she said. "May your steps be guided. I have come to ask," he continued, "if I may help with work that builds, not binds. Quiet work. Work with no names written in secret books." Pastor Daniel nodded. "There is a borehole project for the school down the road. You can buy the pipes without writing the receipt on a heart." Musa smiled, a small, humble smile. "Then I will buy the pipes," he said. He left without asking for thanks. He did not linger. He had learned that some work is best done like morning dew, present but not loud. The town began to heal in simple ways. The old shrine house was finally opened by the council with proper rites and prayers. Nothing fearful was found, only dust and silence. They cleaned it and turned it into a store for school books and chalk. Later, it became a reading room where children learned under a tin roof that sang when it rained. Ada's health bloomed. Her cycle remained steady, like a friendly drum keeping time with her days. She started a small business again, nothing big, just a neat stall selling fabrics with kind patterns. People chose her stall because the fabric seemed to carry a blessing, simple, strong, and stitched without secrets. One morning, a girl of about 19 came to her. Her name was Kemi. She stood with her eyes searching the ground and said, "A man wants to help me. He says it is love, but my chest feels squeezed when I think of it." Ada pulled a stool and asked her to sit. They drank water together. Then she spoke of rivers and tokens and names. She told Kemi that love without freedom is a shadow that calls itself a shelter. She told her that any kindness that silences your voice is a quiet storm. She taught her a sentence to carry everywhere. A good gift never asks me to lose myself. Kemi breathed out slowly. Then I will thank him for his interest and say no, she said. I will work. It will be slow, but my name will be mine. Let slowness be your friend, Ada smiled. A tree does not apologize for the time it takes to grow. Not every day was easy. Some mornings fear tried to creep back like a thief who forgot he had been chased away. When that happened, Ada would place a hand on the bowl of clay shards on her windowsill. She would feel their cool honesty and remember that broken things can become lessons that hold the light. Chika married soon after to a gentle man who loved prayers and laughter in equal measure. On the day of her wedding, Ada helped tie her headscarf and whispered, "Choose every day again. Gifts will come. Pick the ones that do not try to rename you." They laughed and cried and danced under a sky that looked new. Time that old tailor began to sew their lives with careful stitches. The town learned new songs. The phrase, "everything has a price," changed to, "every person has a dignity." Parents told their daughters and sons, "Your name is not for sale. Your peace is not collateral." Once in a while, Ada walked to the river bend with a small basket of flowers. She did not go to mourn. She went to give thanks. She sat by the water, spoke softly to the one who made both river and heart, and let petals float away as a sign that gratitude too should flow. One of those days she met Musa again by accident. He carried a small toolbox, his clothes modest and neat. "I fixed the pump at the clinic," he said almost shy. "They can draw water again." "That is good work," Ada replied. He looked at the river and then at her. "I thought I knew what it meant to be great," he said. "Now I am learning to be good." "Goodness is the beginning of greatness that does not hurt," she answered. He nodded, then did a small thing that meant a lot. He asked for nothing more and went his way. As seasons turned, Daughters of Morning grew into a network. They held small markets where prices were fair and whispers were kind. They created a fund for girls in school, transparent, simple, practical. No one gave a coin that cost someone her voice. The little reading room flourished. Children gathered each afternoon to read stories where heroes did not always carry swords. Sometimes they carried wisdom and compassion. The roof still sang when it rained and the children clapped along. On the anniversary of the day the clay pot broke, Ada invited a few friends to her yard. The hibiscus flowers wore their brightest red. She placed the bowl of shards at the center of the table and set a lantern beside it. When everyone had eaten and laughter had painted the air, she stood and spoke. "I once wore shine that was not mine. It blinded me to the hands that were tying knots on my piece. When I lost the shine, I found my name again. I found my breath, my rhythm, my faith. I found that blessings are those things that make you more yourself, not less. I learned that return is not always shame. It can be wisdom. I learned that forgiveness is not permission for wrong to continue. It is the key that frees you from carrying a prison on your back. I learned that community is a medicine no clinic can bottle, and I learned that a gift is only true if it does not ask for a hidden receipt signed in your soul. So, if you ever stand at a river with something in your hand that shines brighter than your own joy, listen. If it belongs to your freedom, keep it and say thank you. If it belongs to your fear, return it and say goodbye." She lifted one shard from the bowl. It glowed a little from the lantern's light. "This piece is not a wound," she said. "It is a window. Through it, I see how far we have come." They sang then a simple song about morning after night, about names that do not bend for easy applause, about roads that do not sell your footsteps to shortcuts. The lantern flickered like a heartbeat, keeping time with every voice. When the night grew deeper and people began to leave in twos and threes, Chika stayed behind to help wash the plates. She nudged Ada with her elbow. "You know," she teased, "you never did buy another car." Ada smiled. "I am learning to walk again," she answered. "When it is time to ride, the road will not ask for anything that is not mine to give." They laughed softly, a laughter that came from a well that no hand could steal. Before sleep, Ada stood by her window. The moon lay like a silver plate on the sky. A breeze wandered in and touched the clay shards. They did not whisper anymore, they only rested. Peace, the honest kind, filled the room. At last, the story that began with a car ended with a lesson larger than any road. In a world full of bright offers, wear your own light. In a marketplace of hearts, do not exchange your song for an applause that fades. If a gift asks for your root, it is not a gift. It is a subtle chain. Blessings lift. Chains lower, choose the lifting. And if you ever forget, go to the river with a friend who knows your true name. Put the fear in the water. Keep your name. Come home. The lesson learned. Not all gifts are blessings. Anything that asks you to dim your voice, trade your peace, or sign a hidden agreement against yourself is not kindness, it is a quiet chain. Choose relationships that protect your name. Accept help that honors your dignity. Return whatever does not belong to your freedom. Heal in community. And remember, true wealth is not what shines in your hand, but what stays bright in your heart. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling tales. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, we love hearing from you. And stay tuned for the next chapter of our incredible story.